Topic 9, 9, and 10.6. Objective. I have learned several different strategies that are useful for adding and subtracting fractions and mixed numbers. Today I will use these skills to solve problems. Stop the video and write this down. Connect to what you know. What kinds of real-world problems have you already solved by adding or subtracting fractions or mixed numbers? Real-world problems solved by adding or subtracting mixed numbers are learning about muscles and blood, feeding plants, measuring golf balls, using recipes, and sharing pizza, or determining how much of something is left over. Ashley ate 1/2 a pizza, Brooke ate 1/9 of a pizza, while Cassie ate 2/3 of a pizza. If Ben gets the rest of the 2 pizzas, how much does Ben get? You may use fraction strips, fraction circle models, or drawings to help solve the problem. Remember, if there is an improper fraction, make it a mixed number. Record your work and your answer in your math spiral. Find a least common denominator by listing out multiples. Estimate first. Pause the video now. Okay, the first thing I did was estimate. I estimate what's in parentheses because that's what you do first. So 1/2 rounds to 1/2. 1/9 is close to 0/9, so it's 0. Plus 2/3 is about 3/3, so that's 1. So this is 1/2. Now I go back to the front and do from left to right. 2 minus 1/2 is equal to 1/2. So my estimate is 1/2. Next I find common denominator, and that would be 18. So it's my least common denominator because it's the closest one to 0. So I make 18 my common denominator. I put it across from 1/2, 1/9, and 2/3 across from the denominator. 3 times what gives me 18? The answer is 6, so I multiply my denominator and numerator by the same thing. 9 times what gives me 18? The answer is 2, so I multiply my denominator and numerator by 2. 2 times what gives me 18? The answer is 9, so I multiply 9 by my denominator and numerator. So I get 9/18, 2/18, and 12/18. Well, all together, that equals 23/18. Now, this is an improper fraction, so I've got to make it a mixed number. 18 becomes my divisor, so denominator becomes divisor, goes into my numerator, which is now my dividend. Okay, 18 goes into 23 one whole time. 1 times 18 gives me 18. I subtract. I cannot subtract 8 from 3, so I go and I borrow from the 2, make it a 1, bring back 10. 10 plus 3 is 13. Minus 8 is 5. The numerator becomes, my remainder becomes my numerator, and my divisor becomes my denominator. So 1 and 5/18. But I've got to subtract that from 2. So I take 2, and I've got to subtract 5/18 from something, and I don't have anything, so that's why I came over. And I take 1 away. I leave 1 here, bring a whole pie over here. I look at the 18. I know that whatever this is, I've divided all my pies into, so I've got to divide it the same way again. So 18/18. I just double it. 18 minus 5 is 13, and I leave my common denominator as 18. So Ben gets 13/18, and 9/18 is half a pizza, so I bet he's pretty happy. If you have any of this work missing, please write it down now. Joe had 7/8 of a cake left, and Jack had 1/12 of a cake left. Mike wanted 1/2 of a cake to share with his family, so Jack and Joe shared their cake with him. You may use fraction strips, fraction circle models, or drawings to help solve the problem. Remember, if there's an improper fraction, make it a mixed number. Record your work and your answer in your math spiral. Find a least common denominator by listing out multiples. Estimate first. Pause the video now. Okay, for my estimate, 7/8 is about 1 because 8/8 is 1. 1/12 is close to 0, minus 1/2. So I have 1 minus 1/2, which gives me a half as my estimate. Now, I go ahead and I find my common denominator, which I'm sure you guessed already was 24. So I put it in my problem, and I put it right across from the 8. Okay, I put 7/8 and 1/12 down. Then I say 8 times what gives me 24? The answer is 3. So I multiply my denominator and numerator by 3. Then 12 times what gives me 24? The answer is 2. So I multiply my denominator and numerator by 2. So I have 21 plus 2 is 23. 23 24ths. But I'm not done yet. I have to subtract a half. Well, this is already 24ths, and I know I don't even have to find this. I know that half would be 12 24ths. But if you need to, okay, 2 times what gives you 24? 12. And I multiply my denominator and numerator by 12. So 23 24ths minus 12 24ths, that's 11 24ths. 12 24ths is a half, so that's very close to a half, which was our estimate. Please write down anything you need to. Then continue. Tyler and Deja ordered pizza. Tyler ate 1/2 of the pizza and Deja ate 1/3 of it. How much of the pizza was eaten and how much is left over? There's 2 questions. You may use fraction strips or drawings to help solve the problem. Remember, if there's an improper fraction, make it a mixed number. Record your work and your answer in your math spiral. Find a least common denominator by listing out multiples. Estimate first. Pause the video now. First I estimate. A half, I'm just going to put down as a half, and 1/3 is about a half because it's a 33 1/3%, and a half is 50%. So half plus half is equal to 1. That's my estimate. Now, I'll go ahead and find my least common multiple. Pause it if you have not. If you have, you should have 6. 6 is the least common multiple. Now, let's work the problem. We have 1/2 we put across from 6, 1/3 put across from 6. 2 times what gives me 6? Well, the answer is 3, so I multiply my denominator and numerator by 3. 3 times what gives me 6? 2. So I multiply my denominator and numerator by 2. I have 3 6 plus 2 6, and that gives me 5 6. 5 6 was eaten and 1 6 was left over. Remember, there were 2 questions? Don't forget you have to answer 2 questions. If you didn't, go ahead and write it now. Then pause the video. Tim has 15 feet of wrapping paper. He uses 4 1/3 feet for his daughter's present and 5 3/8 feet for his niece's present. How much paper does Tim have left? What is the hidden question necessary to solve the problem? Well, the hidden question is you have to know how, in order to find out how much is left, how much was used. So, how much did Tim use? I'm going to estimate first. These are the questions I'm going to ask myself. How much wrapping paper does Tim have left? 15 feet. Tim have, not left, sorry. About how much of the wrapping paper did Tim use? Well, he used 4 1/3, which I say is about 4 1/2, plus 5 3/8, and 4/8 is a half, so 5 1/2. So 4 1/2 plus 5 1/2 is equal to 10 feet. So now my problem is about how much wrapping paper does Tim have left? 15 feet minus 10 feet is equal to 5 feet. So my estimate is he will have about 5 feet left. Okay, now I find my, whoops, I'll wait till you guys do that. Pause the video now, if you haven't already, to solve it. Then check your answer. Okay, my least common multiple is 24, 4, 3, and 8. So I put 24 here, across from 1/3, the 3 is the denominator. 3 times what gives me 24? It's 8. So I multiply my denominator and numerator by 8. Then I say 3/8. 8 is across from 24. 8 times what gives me 24? The answer is 3. So I multiply my denominator and numerator by 3. Okay, now I get 8 plus 9 is 17, and I leave 24 as my common denominator. Okay, then I would go 4 plus 5 is 9, so 9 and 17 24ths. But I've got to subtract that from the 15 feet he had originally. These are my favorite problems. So I have 15 feet. I have to take away one whole. That leaves me 14. Well, you know to look at the denominator, which is 24. 24 24ths is a whole. So 24 minus 17 is 7. And I leave my like denominator. And then 14 minus 9 is 5. So 5 and 7 24ths is my answer of how much he has left. Ashley had 6 3/5 feet of wire, and she gave 2 2/3 feet wire to a friend. How much will she need to have 8 feet for her next project? You may use fraction strips or drawings to help solve the problem. Remember, if there's an improper fraction, make it a mixed number. Record your work and your answer in your math spiral. Find out least common denominator by listing out multiples. Estimate first. Pause the video now. I estimate first. 6 3/5. Well, 5/5 is a whole, so this is about 7. 2 2/3. Well, 3/3 is a whole, so this is about 3. So 7 minus 3 is 4. So Ashley will need 4 more feet to make 8 feet. Then I find my common multiples, which were 15, and I go ahead and solve. I put my whole numbers here, and I put 3/5 and 2/3. Well, I know my common denominator is 15, so I put 15 over here. 3 times what gives me 15? It's 5. So I multiply my denominator and my numerator by 5. 5 times what gives me 15? 3. So I multiply my denominator and my numerator by 3. I get 9 minus 10. Oops, can't do that, so I got to go over here, mark this out, make it a 5, bring over. What do you see as a denominator? That's right, 15 15ths. So 15 plus 9 is 24. 24 15ths minus 10 15ths gives me 14 15ths. Then I subtract 5 minus 2 is 3. Is that what you got? Let's try some challenging problems. 5 3/4 plus 1 5/6, you must do first because it's in parentheses, minus 6 7/12. First thing you need to do is estimate. Then find common denominators, then work the problem. Check after you have all this done. If you need to see it in writing, here it is. Then pause. 5 3/4 is about 6, plus 1 5/6, 6 is 2, so that's 2. So 6 plus 2 minus, this is 6, and 6/12 is a half, so minus 6 1/2. So 8 minus 6 1/2, or if you wanted to, you could have said 7. And that's my estimate. So 8 minus 6 1/2 is 1 1/2. Or you could have said that it was 7, and 8 minus 7 is 1. Either way. Next, 12 is my common denominator, or common multiple there, so I make it my common denominator. And I work the problem. I have my whole numbers I leave alone until I get done with my fractions. I put 3/4 across from 12. 4 times what gives me 12? The answer is 3, so I multiply my numerator and my denominator by 3. 6 times what gives me 12? The answer is 2, so I multiply my denominator and numerator by 2. So I have 9 plus 10 is 19/12. That's improper, so I take my denominator, make it my divisor. Okay, 12 goes into 19 one whole time. 1 times 12 is 12. I subtract, I get 7. My remainder becomes my numerator, and this becomes my denominator. Plus 6, okay, is equal to 7 7/12. This is where I got my 6. Minus 6 7/12 is equal to 1. Okay, to make sure you understand, I had 1 7/12 plus the 6 that was over here, so that makes it 7 7/12. The 6 7/12 was from my original, so all of that was before was this. So minus 6 7/12, so 7 7/12 minus 6 7/12, that's 1. Now, for your self-assessment. How are you feeling? Are you feeling confident? I hope so. Do your self-assessment now.